you can join us. Here's what we have for you today. Face-off on the House of Commons now back in session.
We need to be clear about the scale of the crisis.
This Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments.
Promises and priorities as Parliament resumes.
What is very concerning is the age of one of the accused.
Why police believe a 12-year-old is behind a spate of violent attacks.
Filling in for somebody who cannot be filled in for.
Plus, an unexpected tribute show to Charlie Kirk.
CTV National News with Sandy Ronaldo.
A big day in Ottawa. It's back to work for members of Parliament with the government's priorities being rolled out and the much anticipated first question period showdown between the Prime Minister and the Conservative leader. CTV's senior political correspondent Michael Couture is on this file. So Mike, talk to us first about those priorities.
Well, Sandy, the Liberals will need help from any opposition party if they want to make progress on things like bail reform and immigration changes. And let's not forget, they have to pass a budget.
So I'm looking forward to a collaborative session.
The Prime Minister was preaching collaboration, while many were anticipating today's confrontation.
Mr. Speaker, why is it that all of this Prime Minister's promises of yesterday turn into today's disappointments?
Conservative Leader Pierre Poilievre attacked the Prime Minister's record. Mark Carney responded with a dig about Poilievre's absence from the House as he campaigned in a by-election.
He missed the largest tax cut for 22 million Canadians. He missed the cut on the GST for new homes. He missed eliminating all federal barriers to trade.
Despite all the jabs, all are calling for cross-partisan collaboration on issues like housing, bail and immigration reform, and the ongoing affordability crisis.
We're going to oppose the government where it makes sense. We are going to support things that make sense, and we are going to expose what they're not telling us.
We are a minority government, yes, but we believe that we have a mandate to proceed with major things.
It's why Liberal House Leader Steve McKinnon said his party is willing to negotiate on details, not principles.
There will be no negotiation, but we want to collaborate. What does that mean? Obey? Become Liberals? Might not happen.
It's by force of will that I ignore the fact that Mr. Carney seems to have one speed, which is fast, and one vehicle, which is a bulldozer.
Well, any collaboration will be tested soon, as the Liberals will need help to pass a budget this fall, and one that the government says is projected to have a substantial deficit. Sandy?
Okay, Mike, thank you. So a lot at stake for Mark Carney. Let's bring in CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Kapelas. Okay, Vashi, did you come away with a clear idea of what's driving this session?
I think that it's going to be the budget. I really do, and Mike sort of touched on it there as well, Sandy. I think this idea that it had been telegraphed as one of austerity and investment, but so early in, before the budget is even tabled, the Prime Minister is very clearly signaling that the deficit is going to grow, is going to be a key point of cleavage between the Conservatives and the Liberals, one that we have seen before, but just not in this iteration. So I walk away thinking that's going to be a clear focus in the weeks and months ahead.
All right, everybody focusing today on the back and forth between Mark Carney and Pierre Poilievre. It was the first time that they squared off against each other. How did they do?
So I have maybe an unconventional take, but I watched that and thought they both look better for it. I thought that Mr. Poilievre sort of had conveyed a different tone in the summer months during his press conferences and was, you know, ultimately very serious and asked very significant questions of the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister, unlike his predecessor, didn't seem to take them personally, answered them more substantively or maybe more specifically. And I thought at the end of the day, both of them ended up looking better for it. Whether that trend holds is maybe a different story or a different question. But at least today, I thought no one was worse for wear.
Okay, Vashi, thank you as always. And today we learned more about the cost of the April election that gave Mark Carney his near majority, and we gained more insight into voter behavior. CTV's Judy Trin is here now with the findings and what else they reveal. Hi, Judy.
Sandy, this past April's election cost about the same as the 2021 election, but it saw a massive swing toward early voting.
We had prepared to deliver an accessible and secure election, and we did.
The snap federal election cost about $570 million, and it resulted in a record number of Canadians who cast their ballots before the April 28th election date. For early voters, lineups were longer than expected.
So the campaigns are inciting voters to go in and vote so that they can focus on perhaps the undecided electors.
Of the 19.8 million people who voted, 8.7 million voted in advance polls. That's 44% who voted before Election Day. In its report, tabled in Parliament, Elections Canada says the trend of early voting will continue and that it will increase pressure on the organization to find enough workers and space to hold advance polls.
We will need to think about the capacity to continue to expand the service offering, particularly ahead of polling day, and especially given the growing difficulties we face.
Solutions being recommended include extending the minimum length of an election period from 36 days to a few days longer, and using an electronic registry to speed up the verification of voters so lines move faster. Elections Canada is also doing a review of its mail-in voting process after problems arose in the riding of Terrebonne, Quebec. The wrong postal code of the local elections office was printed on some labels, and after 2 recounts, a Liberal candidate won by 1 vote. A legal challenge is being mounted by the Bloc Québécois and will be heard in the Quebec Superior Court in October. Sandy.
Okay, Judy. A shocking and terrifying crime spree in Toronto. Seniors and people living on the streets violently assaulted a man sleeping on a bench, killed. And now the arrests of 2 suspects, one of them just 12 years old. CTV's Beth McDonnell reports.
In the morning of Sunday, August 31st in Toronto's downtown core, police say a 12-year-old and 20-year-old went on a violent crime spree. At times during the 5 attacks, one of them was armed with a hammer. 3 of the victims were experiencing homelessness, and one led to the alleged killing of a man stemming from a beating near City Hall.
It is here that they encountered a 62-year-old underhoused male sleeping on a bench. Unprovoked, they began violently beating this male.
Police say all the attacks took place between 5:45 and 8:07 in the morning, with the first 2 at or near Yonge and Dundas. To start, they say the accused approached a man experiencing homelessness sitting on a bench and beat him. He managed to escape, but a short time later, police say the pair attacked another unhoused victim, this time a 70-year-old. He got away too before being rushed to hospital with serious injuries. The third attack took place near City Hall, they say, against the 62-year-old man. This time, the accused took off, police say, with the man going to hospital with serious injuries. He was released, but police say he died 4 days later.
The cause of death was determined to be related to this attack.
Police say after attacking the 62-year-old, the pair ventured to another part of the core where they tried to take a 63-year-old man's phone. But when he tried to get it back, they pushed him to the ground before asking to use another male's phone. When he refused, police say the accused slapped the phone out of his hand and threw an object at him.
Thanks to the keen eye of 2 young officers from 52 Division, the accused were arrested shortly after this final attack.
What is very concerning is the age of one of the accused. A 12-year-old male who cannot be identified has been charged with second-degree murder, along with a 20-year-old man, Isaiah Byers, 20, of Toronto.
Police say both accused were on release orders at the time and both remain in custody. Beth McDonnell, CTV News, Toronto.
A Quebec mother accused of abandoning her toddler has been found not criminally responsible. A massive search was triggered when the 34-year-old reported the child missing. CTV's Quebec Bureau Chief Geneviève Beauchemin is with us now. Jen, what does that decision mean?
Well, yes, Sandy, what happened is that the defense, the Crown, and ultimately the judge all agreed that this woman was to be found not criminally responsible because she was suffering from a mental health condition, that she had schizoaffective disorder, and that she was in a state of psychosis, believing that her daughter was possessed when she abandoned her in a ditch on the side of a road in Ontario. The little girl was found 3 days later. She was dehydrated. She was suffering from an infection. She was in a very dirty diaper. And we have been told today in the court that she still has nightmares. She's also fearing that she could be abandoned again. So now what happens is that the judge has to decide what will happen next. The mother has expressed a desire to be released. What the Crown is looking at is a psychiatric report that says that she should be kept at a maximum security facility, institution, psychiatric institution, and the judge will make that ruling tomorrow, Sandy.
Okay, CTV's Genevieve Boschman. Thanks, Jen. An update from the FBI today. They have linked the man accused of shooting Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk with DNA evidence found at the scene. FBI Director Kash Patel says the DNA was discovered on a towel allegedly wrapped around a firearm discarded near the university. A formal murder charge is expected later this week. The new evidence comes as Vice President J.D. Vance stepped in to host the late Charlie Kirk's talk show.
Filling in for somebody who cannot be filled in for, but I'm going to try to do my best. He was a critical part of getting Donald Trump elected as president, getting me elected as vice president. And so much of our success over the last 7 months is due to his efforts, his staffing, his support, and his friendship.
Vance spoke glowingly of his late friend and blamed left-wing extremism for playing a role in the killing.
Everyone knew him.
Now, the fallout from Charlie Kirk's death has reached into Canada with an increased police presence today at an Ottawa high school after a staff member posted on social media and received what police are calling threatening communications. CTV's Caitlin Wilson reports.
As students were dropped off at St. Mark High School in Manotick on Monday, police maintained a visible presence, a response to an alleged online threat that put the community on alert.
I'm actually the most concerned because it's all because of the actions of and words of one very outspoken teacher, and it's very concerning to me that that is what was brought to the school because of her negative comments.
The threat surfaced after a teacher posted online about the shooting death of Charlie Kirk. Kirk, a 31-year-old American conservative activist, was shot and killed at an event in Utah last week. His death has sparked debate well beyond the U.S., including here in Ottawa, where police say a 23-year-old man is now under arrest. In an email to families, the principal writing, these posts were made outside of school hours on a personal account and do not represent the values or mission of St. Mark Catholic High School or the Ottawa Catholic School Board. The board won't comment on the teacher's status, saying employee matters are handled confidentially. But the controversy has opened a wider debate. How far can freedom of expression go before it puts professionals like teachers at risk of discipline?
The fact that you're a teacher doesn't mean you lose your rights to engage in political discourse. It's a fine balance, but the key of it is, have they demonstrated that they have treated any of their patients unprofessionally, or their students, or their clients?
That debate is also playing out elsewhere. At the University of Toronto, an associate professor was placed on leave after making social media posts about Kirk's death, comments the university called concerning. In Ottawa, police have not released the man's name, but parents say the arrest does bring some relief.
Teachers especially. I feel like they should be held to a higher standard because there's more at stake with their words.
Caitlin Wilson, CTV News, Ottawa.
Police in Halifax are investigating as hate crimes 6 incidents of racist graffiti written on synagogues and sidewalks. They are searching for this suspect after a swastika was spray painted over the sign at the Shar Shalom synagogue. Similar graffiti was written on 2 other locations. Video and other evidence is being reviewed by the hate crimes investigator. And one of the largest police rewards in Canadian history was announced today in British Columbia.
I know residents and business owners are deeply worried, and rightfully so, by the extortions that continue to threaten our neighborhoods, our businesses, and our way of life.
The City of Surrey is putting up a $250,000 reward for any information leading to the arrest of those behind a wave of extortion cases. Many of them targeted the South Asian community. Police say victims are threatened with arson or shootings unless they hand over large sums of money. Coming up, a strain on patients and workplaces.
Lo and behold, right away tested positive.
What's behind the resurgence of COVID cases? Parents are being forced to find alternative ways to get their kids to school in parts of the country where electric bus fleets have been pulled off the roads. This Lion electric bus burst into flames in Montreal last week. 1,200 buses were then taken off the road in Quebec for inspections. Now, as a precaution, hundreds of electric school buses in the London, Ontario area are also being taken out of service. Now, doctors are reminding Canadians to take precautions with COVID cases rising, something they say is consistent with the end of summer. CTV's Heather Wright now on the rising numbers and what it could mean for you. Hi, Heather.
Well, Sandy, the kids are back in school. Fall is coming, and it is time to think about respiratory virus season, which includes COVID. When temperatures start to fall, it's when respiratory viruses begin to rise.
I just felt like I was coming down with something, but it felt a little extra.
Sarah Bartok had never tested positive for COVID until last week.
I had pain throughout my entire body, which then morphed into a migraine. I had pain in my eyeballs, and the fever was quite extreme.
While it's still too early for influenza and RSV, COVID cases are up in many parts of Canada. Nationally, the wastewater viral activity level for COVID is at moderate, but levels are high in Edmonton, Winnipeg, and Regina. While experts don't predict this year's virus to be very different from the past, they are encouraging people to get vaccinated, especially older Canadians.
We know if we look at hospitalization and death, it really is overwhelmingly in that age cohort, especially in those over 80.
This year's respiratory virus season comes at a time of heightened vaccine hesitancy, fueled in part by decisions made south of the border, where access to COVID shots is being limited and vaccine recommendations are changing.
I think it always is concerning when you see a group take a step in a vastly different direction. But I think if you look at Canada compared to much of the world, our policy and advice aligns pretty closely with most other places.
COVID vaccines will begin rolling out across the country later this fall, with Alberta the only province that will now charge most people for the COVID vaccine. That does not include those living in long-term care, where the shot will still be free. Sandy.
Heather, thank you. Still ahead, preparing for impact, cutting into the start of the storm season. Voters in Newfoundland and Labrador were expecting a provincial election next month, and today that was confirmed.
So I just met with Lieutenant Governor and asked her to dissolve the House of Assembly and asked her that we schedule an election date, which is for October 14th, which, as everybody knows, is according to our fixed date legislation.
Liberal leader John Horgan is seeking his first election win as Premier. The Progressive Conservatives are seen as his main challenger, while the new energy deal with Quebec is expected to be one of the main issues, along with health care and the cost of living. Now, Newfoundland and Labrador, along with the maritime provinces, have been experiencing a relatively quiet hurricane season so far. But this is no time to be complacent. Meteorologists say there's still the need for caution. CTV's Maria Saru now on the contingency planning underway.
Branches falling now so the lights stay on later. Maritime electric crews on P.E.I. are trimming trees to prevent power outages before the stormy season picks up.
In high wind situations, they've blown across into our lines, which have pulled down our distribution lines, which are what people see really close to their homes or businesses and along the roads. And that for us has been a real challenge.
The historical peak for hurricanes across the Atlantic landed last week, but scientists say so far it's been slow. Environment Canada says this year it's seen 6 named storms across the Atlantic basin, compared to the average of around 9. One of them turned into a major hurricane. That was Erin, which didn't make landfall on Canada's east coast, but caused big waves, drawing surfers in Nova Scotia. On average, about 4 storms would have become hurricanes by now. But Environment Canada adds we're not in the clear. It expects some conditions that cause hurricanes, like vertical wind shear and vertical instability, to change this week, making extreme weather more likely. PEI's Emergency Measures Organization is watching and preparing.
We've been fortunate so far. Everyone should have a kit that's within their means. So they should have water, non-perishable food items, any medications that they may need, and also if they have pets in their family, they should prepare for them as well.
Environment Canada says conditions can change quickly, so families should be prepared. And across the island, the tree trimming continues.
Right.
Sandy.
Okay, Maria, thank you. After the break, crying foul.
Major questions
about the baseball IQ of some Canadians.
Okay, those are the comments Canadian fans are calling off base. The Toronto Blue Jays are enjoying a late summer high, sweeping the Baltimore Orioles over the weekend and sitting in first place in the American League East. But it's a comment by an American sportscaster that has Canadian baseball fans fuming. CTV's John Vinavelli-Rao now on the Jays, their fans, and what was said that stirred the pot. John.
Sandy, the comment made after a pickoff attempt managed to tick off fans here. After sweeping the Baltimore Orioles, the Blue Jays continue to be one of the best teams in baseball, almost certainly destined for the playoffs.
Very excited. I love their chances.
Hey guys, it's Brian Roberts here.
But on Friday, this former Orioles second baseman and now broadcast color commentator took a swing at Canadian fans after the crowd in Toronto booed a pickoff attempt by the Orioles pitcher, who was trying to keep the Blue Jays base runner from stealing second. Brian Roberts saying this on air.
Sometimes we had some major questions about the baseball IQ of some Canadians here and there.
He didn't think the fans should boo since new rules limit pickoff attempts. But on social media, Canadians reacted, noting pickoff attempts being booed happens at every ballpark.
That's what made it really bizarre for Brian to say that, because that's something that all home fans do.
What also made it bizarre is that the Orioles have a losing record and much smaller crowds at home. Still, Roberts went on to say this about Canadians.
I think, at times it felt like maybe they enjoyed or they knew a little bit more about hockey than baseball.
The Blue Jays having fun with the comments, crediting high IQ fans for having a winning record at home. And Blue Jay Ernie Clement, who's American, told the Toronto Star, the more I play here and the more I get to know the people of Toronto, the more I gain a respect for what they know about baseball.
We know a lot about hockey, but we know just as much about baseball. We're a very intelligent group here in Canada.
And during a broadcast on Sunday, Roberts changed course and said he was sorry.
I hope that they will accept my sincere apology for what I said on the air the other day.
As for Blue Jays fans, they're now focused on the last 2 weeks of the regular season and hoping to show America in the playoffs just how baseball mad Canadians can be. Sandy.
Hear, hear. Okay, John, thanks so much. And thank you for sharing your time with us. I'm Sandy Ronaldo. Your local CTV News is coming up. Omar will be here later tonight. See you tomorrow, we hope. Bye for now.